It has become obvious lately that the crowd is tired of Trump. From boos and insults to even yawning while he speaks, the message is obvious. People don't want him anymore. Applause.
And your carpenters and your electricians and your drivers.
But at a recent event, the crowd went beyond just booing and did something that might be the final nail in the coffin for Trump. Want to know what happened? Stick around and find out. The crowd leaves Trump in a scene that felt strange yet familiar. Former President Donald Trump walked onto the stage at the AOS Center of Wilmington International Airport. This wasn't just another rally. It was a moment in a long political story filled with strong support and growing doubts.
Oh, what a crowd this is. That's a big, beautiful. We flew over. I said, that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people.
The crowd was lively, cheering and chanting his name. But beneath all the excitement, some people were starting to question whether Trump could really deliver on his bold promises. Trump stepped up to the microphone around 2:30 p.m., standing behind a podium protected by bulletproof glass. He quickly jumped into his usual speech, making big claims like dropping energy costs cut in half within a year.
It's my ambition to get your energy bill within 12 months down 50%.
The crowd cheered, excited by the idea that they might finally be able to afford homes. Yet some supporters in the back began to murmur, wondering if these promises were just empty words they had heard before. As Trump talked about taxes, suggesting no taxes on overtime.
Today, I'm also announcing that as part of our additional tax cuts, we will end all taxes on overtime. You know what that means?
The crowd continued to cheer. He also mentioned that there would be no taxes on tips and Social Security for seniors, making people cheer even louder.
So no tax on Social Securities for our great seniors. And this last one is no tax, you work your ass off, no tax on overtime. And that's so good for the employer.
However, some folks started to voice their doubts. They were beginning to realize that Trump's grand promises might not be as real as they wanted them to be. He then shifted his focus to criticizing Kamala Harris, calling her ineffective as borders are, which got a big reaction from the crowd.
She wants everybody to have amnesty. Then Joe Biden made her the border czar, and that's when it really got bad. She launched a colossal illegal alien invasion of a country. She said, come on in.
Still, those murmurs of skepticism grew stronger. Some attendees couldn't shake the feeling that they were being sold a dream that was hard to believe. The mood changed when Trump introduced two of his grandchildren. He proudly held up Carolina and Luke, asking them to say a few words. "Make America great again." Carolina declared,
"Make America great again."
Luke chimed in with,
"Vote for Grandpa."
The crowd laughed and cheered, momentarily forgetting the tensions. For a moment, Trump seemed like just a proud grandfather, making him more relatable to some supporters. But as Trump returned to his speech, the contrast between family warmth and political promises became clear. He continued to attack sanctuary cities and promised to secure the borders, which made his core supporters cheer even louder. He promised to protect auto workers by preventing Mexico and China from sending in their cars to the United States.
Let Mexico, China, or any other country sell cars into the United States to the detriment of our auto workers.
However, there were still doubts lingering in the air. Would these bold promises actually happen? Or were they just flashy lines meant to stir excitement without real solutions? Then something unexpected happened. Mid-speech, a few attendees started to stand up and leave.
But take nothing for granted. You have to get out and vote. You just have to get out and vote. We cannot accept it. What they do is the only thing they do well. They cheat. The policy.
They seemed bored and frustrated, their quiet departures creating a noticeable shift in the crowd. They were either unhappy about the lack of real solutions or were they just tired of the same old political show. As more people walked out, a strange tension filled the room. The remaining supporters exchanged worried glances, their faces showing a mix of confusion and concern. Was this a sign of growing disappointment, or was it just normal for a rally? Many people felt it was becoming clear that the excitement that once pulled them in was fading. As the rally went on, Trump kept saying that if North Carolina voted for him, he would get things done fast.
We're going to get that done fast, and you will have more jobs in North Carolina. You'll have more jobs in this country than we've ever had before.
His claims drew cheers from the crowd, but people kept leaving. It started to feel like the ground was shifting beneath Trump's feet as some supporters began to realize that his promises might not deliver the changes they needed. At the end of the rally, while Trump was passionately discussing gun rights and immigration, many people quietly slipped out. Outside the venue, vendors selling Trump merchandise continued their business, but even they sensed a change in the air. The usual excitement felt muted as many attendees appeared to be grappling with the truth of unfulfilled promises. The steady stream of people leaving served as a clear sign that even his most dedicated fans were starting to feel uneasy. Trump's rally in Wilmington wasn't the triumphant return to form he may have hoped for. With a speech that lacked focus, outlandish promises that strained credibility, and a tone that felt more desperate than defiant, Trump struggled to keep his audience engaged.
They've gone through a lot. Women are poorer than they were 4 years ago, are less healthy than they were 4 years ago, are less safe on the streets than they were 4 years ago.
And this is not the first time Trump will experience something of this nature. In May, Donald Trump took the stage at the Libertarian National Convention, expecting a warm reception. Instead, he was met with a wave of boos and jeers from a crowd that made it clear they were far from thrilled to see him. As he began his speech, it quickly became evident that he was no longer the commanding figure he once was, particularly among a group that values limited government and individual liberties.
Only if you want to win. Only if you want to win. Maybe you don't want to win. Maybe you don't want to win.
The audience was a mix of ardent supporters donning "Make America Great Again" gear and fierce detractors who loudly voiced their discontent. Trump, always wanting to deflect with humor, tried to lighten the mood by joking about his ongoing legal troubles.
If I wasn't a libertarian before, I sure as hell am a libertarian now. And unlike Joe Biden, I don't throw people in jail for disagreeing with me. I don't do that.
As he pressed on with his speech, the atmosphere grew more charged. Trump's attempts to bond with the audience fell flat, especially when he pledged to include a libertarian in his cabinet. He also attempted to energize the room by promising to commute the life sentence of Ross Ulbricht, the founder of the Silk Road website.
And if you vote for me on day one, I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht to a sentence of time served.
This was met with some cheers, but they were drowned out by continued chants of "End the Fed," a slogan that resonated deeply with libertarians opposed to government control. The irony of Trump, who spent his presidency expanding federal power, now seeking to align himself with those who prize individual freedom, was palpable. It was as if he was trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and the audience wasn't buying it. Tensions ran high. Even in the seating arrangements, libertarian organizers had to ask Trump supporters to move from the front rows to accommodate convention delegates, leading to a chaotic shuffle. Some attendees were visibly upset, feeling their place in the convention was being undermined by the very presence of Trump. While Trump continued to speak, he faced a constant barrage of boos as libertarians took it upon themselves to remind him of their core beliefs. Trump was struggling to keep up. The loud booing was not just a reaction to him. It was a rejection of his entire legacy. This chaotic chapter in Trump's ongoing saga was not just a setback. It was a clear sign that the tides of political sentiment were shifting. But it seems Trump is not the only one facing rejection. Many voters are beginning to grow tired of Republicans as they seek change and fresh ideas. Getting tired of Republicans in the world of politics. Applause can be music to a leader's ears, but nothing stings quite like the sound of boos from your own supporters. This has been the reality for several prominent Republicans in recent years, each experiencing the disapproval of crowds that once cheered them on. The GOP has seen its fair share of internal conflict, and the echoes of dissatisfaction are loud and clear, from the stages of national conventions to local rallies. And it's not just voters that are getting tired of Republicans. Republicans are also getting tired of Republicans. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has often found himself in the hot seat, especially during the Republican National Convention. When he took the stage to address the crowd at the Republican National Convention, he was met with a chorus of boos.
Madam Chairman, the Commonwealth of Kentucky proudly cast 46 votes for the next president, Donald J. Trump.
Many attendees shouted their frustrations, expressing their deep dissatisfaction with his leadership. McConnell has been a prominent figure in the Republican Party for decades, but his decisions sometimes rub the grassroots the wrong way. For example, his willingness to negotiate with Democrats on certain issues has made some party loyalists question his commitment to the party's core values.